You want to automate your entire business or want to sell AI automations to other businesses without paying monthly SaaS fees and without worrying about limits? Tools like Make.com and Zapier can get expensive fast, and even n8n cloud version has usage limits. But what if you could host n8n yourself for free? Today, I'm going to show you exactly how you can host n8n in a step-by-step way on your own infrastructure for free, the pros and cons of each option, and how you can choose for yourself which one is the best for you. Self-hosting is when you install the n8n Community Edition on your own infrastructure, like for example a virtual server or a cloud platform, instead of using n8n Cloud. n8n is an open source software under the what's called Fair Code license, and this means you can legally run it for free on your own servers with no built-in usage limits and no subscription costs. Think of it that way. You're renting a dedicated server space for all of your automations instead of paying for someone else's SaaS platform. So why even bother self-hosting n8n when you could just pay for n8n Cloud? Here are 3 big reasons. Number 1, you get unlimited workflows and workflow executions. In the n8n Cloud version, on the lowest tier, you get 5 automations running simultaneously and 2,500 executions per month. And for that, you're paying approximately $25 per month. Reason number 2, on your own server infrastructure, you have full control over everything. You get to choose your tooling, your database, and your backup strategy, and there's no vendor lock-in from n8n. And reason number 3 is better pricing long-term. For n8n Cloud, you're paying, as I've already said, about $25 per month, and you can literally run n8n on your own infrastructure completely for free. There are several options on how to actually self-host n8n. I would recommend a web service, like a web infrastructure on, for example, render.com or DigitalOcean. And to have 100% uptime there, you're gonna have to pay a small fee. But in comparison to what n8n Cloud costs, which again, about $25, the fee you pay for example, render.com is only about $7. This means you're paying less than a third from what cloud n8n would cost you. And especially when you're beginning, you can host it for free. It's not going to be up 100% of the time. But if you just want to get into it, learn it a bit, and then maybe upgrade later when you see that it actually works and that you like it, then you can upgrade your plan, pay $7 a month, and be completely good. And all that without having to rely on n8n themselves. By the way, if you're just starting out with n8n and you want to save hours building workflows from scratch, check out gen8n.dev. It's a tool I built that lets you generate n8n workflows from your natural English language. So you just type in whatever you want your automation to do. You wait about 1 to 2 minutes, and then you can download the ready to import workflow automation file and put it into your n8n instance, and you're ready to go. You just have to connect all your credentials, and then you're live. It's the second link in the description, and it's completely for free. All right, so where would you actually self-host n8n? I'm gonna walk you through 3 options again. One of them free, one of them easy, and one of them for a more advanced DIY path. Let's turn to the computer and check out what we've got. First up, Render's free hobby plan. This is the easiest way to get started, and again, it's free. But how does it work? You just go to the website, render.com, and you sign up. You get started for free, and then you create an account. I already have an account, so I'm gonna sign in. And once you're signed up, you're gonna see this screen here. Because we want to deploy a web app, we're gonna choose web services. So new web service, and now we can import apps from GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket, from a public GitHub repository, or from an existing Docker image. You don't have to be familiar with what a Docker image is, but we are going to use the free n8n Docker image, which you can get from their GitHub repository. The link to that is in the description down below. This is how their GitHub repository looks like. I'm just going to scroll down until you see or deploy with Docker, and then you have this code snippet here. And what you're going to do is you're just going to copy this bit at the end here, docker.n8n.io/n8n.io/n8n. Control C, go to render again, and then you're going to paste in whatever you copied into the existing image URL. And then you're going to hit connect. With that, the Docker image is being imported. You can give your workspace a name. Since you probably want to name it like your agency or your business, you can put in your name. Eximus is my agency, so I'm going to put in -Eximus. And you can leave everything else blank. If you want to change the region, you should always change it to whatever is nearest to you, actually. So I'm going to use Frankfurt since I'm in Germany. This is also great because if you're, for example, in the EU, you have to comply with data protection policies, and you can't send like confidential data to US servers. So if you're in the EU, you're going to have to choose EU Central anyways. But for any other part of the world, just choose the server which is closest to you. Now, this is where it gets juicy. For hobby projects, we are just going to select the free tier here. This means that we can host n8n completely for free, as you can see, for $0 per month on render.com, and we can use it like we do the cloud version. The only important difference between using the free tier here, so the hobby project, or a paid version here, or also, for example, the n8n cloud version, is that this instance is going to spin down or shut down after a certain period of inactivity. This is important because when the instance is spinning down, is shutting down, since the free tier doesn't have persistent data storage, it's going to reset. So every single time you are basically spinning down the project and then using it again later on, you're gonna have to go through the whole setup process for n8n again, and everything you did in n8n is gonna be gone. This is a bit unfortunate if you want to use it on a constant basis, but this is great if you just want to get started n8n just to see how it works. Again, you don't have to pay any money for this. You just have to think about that when you actually leave the computer for a certain time period and do nothing there, then your instance is gonna spin down and your data is gonna be lost. But if you're just playing around, if you want to like build some basic workflows, just see if it's something for you or for your business, you will just select the free tier and then hit deploy web service, as we do now. And now we wait. Now we have to wait until Render is actually deploying the web service, that Docker builds the whole app in the background. And when it's ready, we can hit the link and then check it out. All right, so it's been about 3.5 minutes. And the deployment is ready. You know it's ready when you see your service is live, and then editor is now accessible at this localhost port. So you're just gonna click view either here, the URL here, or the URL here. I'm just gonna use this, and then you're gonna be redirected to n8n, to your own private free n8n instance. And then you're just gonna follow the sign up process. So I'm gonna put in an email here, and then you're just going to complete the onboarding here. For me, it's not really necessary because I've done this a few times already. And then you hit get started. This here is important because you want to have the license key. You're going to get access to extra features, and you just put in your email if you haven't done that already, and then send me a free license key. And then you're going to wait a few minutes until the license key actually arrives in your inbox. This is how the email will look like, and you were just gonna copy the license key here, Control C, go back to your n8n instance. You will just copy the key here, Control C, go back to your n8n instance and click the small link in the pop-up you got there. Click Enter activation key, Control V, your activation key, and hit activate. And with that, you're registered for the community edition and you have access to all the features. If you leave the settings, you can now build a workflow, create workflow. It's going to take a second to load, and then you can start building from there. You can literally just, whatever, pull in a trigger, AI agent, and that's it. And now you can build all the workflows you want in your free private n8n instance. And now, what are the pros and the cons of this way? The pros are you have zero cost because you are using the render.com hobby edition. It's a very, very simple Docker deployment with literally no server setup. You just put in the Docker URL and let Render do the hard work. And it's great for just testing or trying without any big n8n commitment, without any big payments or logins at the beginning. There are some cons though. As I've already mentioned about, after 15 minutes of inactivity, your instance goes to sleep, so it shuts down. And this resets everything. So if you want to have actually like persistent workflows, persistent infrastructure, this is not the way to go. It's definitely not recommended for production use or using like critical automations that need to have the constant uptime. If you're just experimenting with n8n, if you're just learning n8n, like the very basics, this is the fastest way to self-host. And also, obviously, since it's free, the cheapest one. But if you actually want to use it for yourself, for clients in a production environment, you're gonna need a different setup. And this is where the second way comes in. Please don't freak out. The second way is actually really, really simple too, because you've already set up n8n on render.com on the hobby plan, on the free plan. The only thing you have to do is to upgrade. So you go to upgrade now, you're gonna have to update your billing details, and then you choose the starter pack. The starter pack gives you several improvements to the free hobby project. The most obvious one is, again, that you have persistent storage. So when the server would shut down, you don't lose all your data. But the best thing is that in the starter package, the servers do not shut down themselves. They are online consistently, so you can actually build automations and have them running in the background without the server just randomly deciding to shut down. And this means that you can use the starter package for early production environments. You also get more CPU usage, which means just a bit of better performance. And this is definitely the best option if you want to use it for yourself in a production environment, or even for 1 to 3 of client projects. The pros about this is you don't have a cold start because the service is live 24/7 because it doesn't shut down. You can just very simply start scaling, because from now on with the starter package, you can build automations for yourself and you can build automations for your clients without having to worry that they get lost. The con is that now you have a bit of monthly cost. It's $7 per month. So in my opinion, it's very manageable, especially if you're just starting out. And when you start to get clients, you definitely can upgrade to other versions here too. And in comparison from what you will get from your clients, this is still insanely cheap. So if you go with this, you're set. And the third way is to go with DigitalOcean. This is where I have my n8n instance hosted. The setup for here is a bit more complicated. Here, you're gonna create a droplet, and then you will have to install Docker and Docker Compose yourself, then deploy n8n with the just installed Docker Compose file, configure the domain and the SSL, and then you're done too. I won't go into detail here because for most of you guys, just choosing render is the better alternative just because the setup is so simple. But if you want to use DigitalOcean and want to have an in-depth tutorial on that on this channel here, I can definitely do one. Let me know in the comments down below. If you don't want to do that, I can also recommend you a video of Nick Zarev. This is going through DigitalOcean and how to set it up. But again, for most of you guys, using render.com is definitely perfectly fine. And this one is like actually the same cost as render. So if you don't want to deal with the whole setup thing of Docker and all that stuff, just use render.com. And now the question is, how do you decide what to choose? I think, again, for most of you guys, just going with render is the best option. If you're just starting out and just want to get to know n8n in a very basic setup, use the render hobby plan. And if you then starting to build actual automations for yourself, or maybe for the first 1 to 3 clients, then upgrade your render instance to the starter plan for $7 a month, because this gives you production reliability with 0 server headache. And then later on, if you are having heavy database usage and like using n8n for everything, have several dozens of clients, you probably would need to upgrade your render instance again. But as I've already said, the cost of that is going to be a fraction of what you're going to get from your clients. And if you want to have a shortcut for getting started, you can access my own resource hub in the description down below. You can find n8n starter templates there, prompting guides, everything you need. And I'm also going to include a page for setting up your own n8n instance with all the links and all the commands you're going to need to put this together successfully. And if you found this video helpful, definitely give it a like, subscribe to this channel for more future n8n automations. And in the comments, you can definitely let me know what you want to see next and how you're going to plan on using n8n for yourself. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to see you in the next one.